It's time. Alright, so we got the S engine mount very close. I don't know why I sound like a... I don't know. And this engine mount is almost there as well. Alright, so we got her to sit on the mount. I forgot how close it is to the core support. It's like literally, I'm afraid that our wider our wider radiator is going to be like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way that's going to sit right here. I might have to redo this. There we go. Alright, so take that off. Open that off. Alright. Here, hold this. And then let's do... Here, move this, move it back. Pull it.
I don't want it to scrape though.
Alright, so it's day 2. Motor is in the car. Got some light finally so we can see how it looks. It looks really nice. But I dropped it in without the transmission, so that made it a lot easier. Literally about 20-30 minutes and the motor was in. But now it's gonna be fun snaking this underneath the car, which I'm gonna have to lift this up quite a bit more. This is a Rb25 Neo Trans. It is lightly used, has about 1,000+ miles on it. The person I purchased it from, unfortunately their motor blew, so they scrapped the whole project, leaving me with this for a pretty good deal. Everything is new and converted to a push type clutch. So these come factory with a pull type. So you replace this whole piece right here, changes it back to the push type that we're all used to. So I'm going to go ahead and lube these up, get the throwout bearing on there, and get this ready to throw underneath the car. Alright, so since I don't have anything, well, I do have my press, but it's all tucked away over there. I've had luck with this before where I just use a socket to push out the throwout bearing housing. So I'm going to use my vice grip and I'll show you what I'm going to use my table vise and show you guys how I get this off without a press. Alright, so it's not the prettiest, but the socket goes slightly into the housing, so it's not in the way of the actual bearing. and I just got some 2x4s and another piece of wood here to help allow this to come through. So there we go. And just like that, she should start coming out. And it's done. She's off the housing. Alright, and just like that, undamaged. If you look, there's like a little inner ring here, and that's where I was able to get that socket in there, so it doesn't damage the actual mating surface of this on the new throwout bearing. This is probably still good, and it looks like it's OE. But to be honest, I wanted to throw the spec one in. Ooh, almost dropped it. I want to throw the spec one in just so that way, peace of mind, everything's brand new. And then, so I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and we'll get the new one pressed on. Alright, so got this all cleaned up. I'm going to use a piece of wood. I like to tap it in first before using the press, just to kind of get it started. And then if you look, you do want the outer part of the bearing, the part that spins, out, because that is what's going to be in contact with the clutch pressure plate splines. Alright, so I'm going to get this started and I'll go back to the vise and press this in. There we go. So I like to get it centered just like that, and that should be good now. We'll just sandwich them like this and press it in the vise. Alright, just like that. Like I said, it's a lot easier when you do this and get it started already. I think I'm a little bit low on this, so it should go in a lot easier if I lift this up, this piece of wood, so it's in the center. Alright, there we go. So now that that wood is centered, this should be easier to... There we go. And it shouldn't be too hard from there. And that should be about it. And just like that, it's all even. And she's through. I'm just gonna lightly lube up all of these moving parts. This is the shaft that the throwout bearing will slide on. So, and you want to make sure this is nicely lubed, but to the point where it's not, there's not too much extra, because you don't want any of this flying around in the actual bell housing, because if it gets on your clutch disc, that's pretty much it. And then of course also got some on your clutch pivot ball. Just like so. Yep. And then when you do that, there should be no noises or grinding feeling. It should be super smooth, because this is going to be actuating back and forth. Alright, so your fork should go on your throwout housing right here. If you look, there's some grease between that and the retaining clip is on. And I also put some grease where the clutch pivot ball will go. And then we'll put the, don't want to forget your retaining spring for the clutch pivot, just like that. That'll allow you to push it in and you'll hear it click. So I like to do it this way here. So again, everything's already lubed up. I'm gonna put this like so. It's kind of tricky because you need to like put it through the boot first, like so. And you should be able to like reach over, make sure, and pull this through, just like that. Make sure your boot's not binded up like mine is. There we go. So now you heard that click, that's on the clutch pivot ball now. Alright, just like that, she is ready to go. I removed all the excess and got everything out of the way as far as wiring, so I don't think it's pinched. And I might have to just lift this up a little bit more so I can actually fit this thing underneath there. Alright, I'm gonna try it this way. I have my little wheel dolly. Alright, you can't be too cautious, so I like to make sure that the jack stands on there, my jack and the jack stands. So now I just gotta remove it off the wheel dolly, and I should be able to get my second jack and start lifting it up towards where she needs to go. Oh man, it's gonna be fun. Alright, so as you can tell, this is a very difficult task to do by yourself, so I'm using a system of my jack and a jack stand, and I'm just inching my way closer and closer by pushing the whole system forward, up, forward and up. Alright you guys, this is a whole nother day, actually a week later, from that last clip where you saw me trying to get the transmission underneath the car. I thought honestly that would be the easiest way, but I was wrong. Only because I think my issue was the trans tunnel. I did not make enough clearance. If you look, I should have showed you before and after. I went at it again with a sledge this time instead of just a mallet. Got a little bit more clearance, and I painted that so that way there was no exposed metal or body, so that there's no rust. But yeah, so I enlarging that, and instead of doing it that way again where I just dropped the motor, because it was super simple to get the motor in there, I think I'm just going to attach the transmission to it old school way and just take my time in dropping it in, because yeah, it was a huge pain trying to get that transmission under there, just because it's so heavy compared to any other car. The transmissions, like on a KA or an SR, I could literally, with my body weight, just have it on top of me and push it up. In this instance, it was just too heavy. The Rb25 transmission is just too dang heavy. So I'm gonna attach it to the motor and we'll see if I can get it in that way. Get it close enough. It's almost there. So you just want to make sure it's, if you look, it's a little bit high here, so I gotta drop it a little bit more so she can mate in there. Alright, so I apologize. I did not have the ability to record me getting this in. It was definitely a struggle. But basically, I just kept jiggling it so it got close. I put one screw up here, one over here, one over here, because I was close enough where I could actually thread a little bit. And what I did is little by little, I tightened them up and I wiggled the tail shaft as much as I could until I got more space to wiggle these closer, and slowly but surely she made it up. Now it's important that when you do that you're super careful, because if you just throw a bolt in there and force it, you can basically the splines might not be lined up, or the input shaft is not perfectly centered on the bearing, and then you could just ruin the bearing and take it out and have to redo the pilot bearing and all that stuff. So just make sure when you do that, be super careful and just do it little by little. Again, tightening it down just a bit so that was snug by your fingers, and then jiggling this part up and down close towards the motor so that way you have more room to actually just tighten them by hand, and eventually they'll all sit. So that's ready. I'm gonna put the starter in afterwards, or maybe I should just put it in now since it's right here. Yeah, I'll probably do that so that way I don't have to do it from underneath the car, and then lift her up once more. And I really don't want to have to lift the whole thing up and put it in there, but I think this is the only way. Obviously not the only way, but doing that underneath the car would have been ridiculous. So, alright, let's get this going. So I pretty much skipped that whole entire stressful ordeal. It's definitely a lot harder to do it with the transmission. It's not impossible. I scratched this up a little bit, which it's fine because I didn't paint this on purpose. Kind of bent it a little bit here, but not anything crazy, just like a little ding. And I did hit this right here with my transmission tail. It was just too heavy, I didn't have enough leverage, and which I need to paint this anyway, so I wanted to redo this. But yeah, anyways, that's besides the point. I'm happy now because everything lines up perfectly. I need to move it back a little bit so that way that is perfectly centered. It's super close though. For now, I'm gonna put it down. I do have some adjustment left on the mounts. If you can tell, they do give about an inch to inch and a half adjustment, so that should be perfect. But yeah, now I'm gonna get this all out of here, pull up the transmission, and that's all I wanted to do today because that was kind of the last thing before I could start plumbing everything and hooking everything up. So yeah, all right, a lot more work to do.